Hey everybody, this is Larry with a shirt on. It's April 17. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, join my Discord. It looks like today's a easy problem, so I'll probably try to do a premium problem just to kind of, get my reps in a little bit. Today's problem is 1431 kits with the greatest number of candies. Yeah, there are n kits with candies. You're given an integer array of candies where each candies survive represents the number of candies ith kit has, and an integer extra candies denote the number of extra candy that you have. Return a Boolean result of length n where result I is true if after giving all the ith kit or the extra candy they have the greatest number of candy amount or the kits, or false otherwise. Note that multiple kits can have the greatest number of candy. Okay, so basically, it is easy, I suppose. I think it's just max about. Yeah, it's just getting the max of the array, right? Like I think sometimes I double check these things. It's getting the max, and then now for x in candies, if x plus extra candies is greater than or equal to mx, then answer that append true. Or maybe we could even just do this conditional here, right? Oops. And that's pretty much it, right? Maybe, hopefully, because I don't know if I misunderstood this. But well, that was pretty quick. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I don't really have much to say about this one, to be honest. Because basically, it is easy, and I guess it is a warm-up usually for me. I think this is a good practice to, when you see a easy problem, I think there are a couple of things, if you are watching this video, a couple of things you can do. One is kind of practice reading and understanding as fast as you can. And that's kind of always going to be tricky, but that is going to be especially if you do competitive interviews, you probably get away with, because you're communicating with someone else, you're talking, you're chatting, you're having fun, maybe. But if your goal is competitive programming, a lot of it is reading and just reading it as quick as you can, and then try to figure out the code that you want to write, right? And here I'm just gonna give you some generic advice because this video is too short otherwise. Not that I usually care, but try to figure out your patterns yourself and figure out who you are, right? As a programmer, as a competitive programmer, as a implementer. There's some things that I think a trap that a lot of new engineers or software engineers get into is that they minimize the number of code, or like they do some kind of like code golf. You want to get shortest code or something, right? And the thing is that there are two things. One is that the thing that looks really clever, because you're like, oh, that's really smart, because I couldn't have thought of that. Well, that's usually the reason why, that's actually not what you want, because, it usually means that you have to actually understand something to read it. Because basically the code that you want to write, the thing that I always say is that the code you want to write, especially in production and stuff like that, that's readable, is the code that, in a way, that everyone who reads it can imagine themselves writing it, and that's how they can understand it so easily, right? That's one thing that I always say about that. The other thing is just figuring out. And this is maybe a little bit more competitive programming. It's just figuring out. Again, learning who you are, and what that means is that. For me, part of how I decide to implement stuff depends a little bit on a sort of a probability of how easy it is for me to make a mistake typing that out as quick as I can, right? Like, for example, if you really think about it, this can really be a one-liner, especially in Python. But the reason why I write it out is because two reasons. One is that if I have a typo, it's easy to debug if I need to. But two is that I have fewer chance of making a typo. Don't you follow me long enough? Maybe that's not low enough, but that's besides the point. So those are the things that I would kind of recommend you to do. And in together, that's going to compose a lot of your rating if you care about that. But just about speed, right? Speed is about getting, especially on the easier problems anyway. because yeah, it's about solving it and reading it and doing it as quick as you can in a way that you don't have to like second guess yourself, right? As much as possible anyway. That's how you shave, a minute here and there, and then it adds up. And the other thing is that if you are, going hard into competitive, every minute counts. At least, like, talking about my sticking points, mostly because I don't practice, to be frank. So I mean, but like if I were to practice, one thing I do notice about myself is that on the later problems, sometimes like on a more difficult competitive programming, so not Leetcode, so say Code Force or something like this, I just don't have much time to kind of really go through it, right? And some of this is practicable, meaning like like as I always say, you make observations and stuff like that, and then you go into it. The other part is that giving yourself enough time to be able to solve them, and that's when you have to solve the first 2 or 3 problems easy, to give yourself time to do it. And obviously, it also factors in the penalties and stuff. But yeah, anyway, kind of a little bit of sidetrack, but definitely my point here is that if you find yourself beyond the level where you find easy, like if you find easy is actually easy, like you can do it every time, like let's say 95% of the time, maybe some 5% of the time is, the problem is just really hard to read. But when you say easy, especially on these daily problems, just try to do it as fast as you can, by reading as fast as you can, and then kind of see, where you can make improvements, right? It's all about feedback loops. Anyway, that's all I have for this one. I'm going to do a premium after this, so definitely hit the subscribe and all those buttons, and just click on the view button or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, happy Sunday, happy Monday, depending on where you are and when are you watching it. So stay good, stay healthy, to good mental health. Have a great rest of the week. I'll see y'all later and take care. Bye-bye.